All right, all right. What an amazing, awesome, what I would say incredible day today. I get to have Mr. Adam Torres himself on my podcast today. Just, when I think about, Adam, and I think about the different folks that I've had on, and we're about 400 episodes total now.
400. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I can't let you go past that. 400.
Yeah. Between this and the Journey to Freedom, which are both,
that's like boss moves.
So cool. It has been so fun to have, folks on like yourself that are out there, that are doing stuff, that are helping people, that are serving. When I think about living boldly with purpose, I usually ask my guests, is it possible to live boldly with purpose and not serve others? Maybe you want to I'll let you go ahead before we jump into your story. Yeah, maybe answer that real quick. Is it possible to live in purpose and not serve others?
Man, I think, that's a hard one. Dr. B, you're coming with the big one.
I know, I just started out just jumping into.
Well, I guess I'll juxtapose it to something that I've always believed, and whether it's right or wrong, and that is, like, if you want to make a difference in anything, you're going to need people. Like, there's got to be at least one other person there. Like, I don't care. And if you say there's not another person there, well, are you people? Like,
I know.
You need yourself. Like, you need people. So if you add people with purpose and you add a little sprinkle of a servant's heart, like, I think you can do some great things. Like, and the more people you can get involved, a lot of times it can be, you can expand.
Yeah, I had somebody who told me, this was kind of funny. So I got into this. My wife has an embroidery business, and it's in the basement. And one of her direct-to-garment printers, kind of broke down. And so we're kind of taking it apart and trying to follow the YouTube videos and the how-tos. And this thing is so complex. You'll squirt water here and squirt water there. And I'm like, somebody designed that. And so I started thinking, like, did the person who sits as engineer and designs this and then creates the parts and everything for this printer to work, is he serving people, if that's his purpose in life or not? And then I came to the conclusion, even he is serving others by allowing people to utilize this incredible machine to make garments that say amazing things on their t-shirts or wherever they are, so that other people can have better lives. So even he's serving people, maybe not directly, and I'm sure there's people in the company that are working.
It's humanity. It's humanity.
Yeah, it is. You're so right. So anyway, so as we're thinking about the show and thinking about all the things, and we're talking to each other in the green room, and I'm saying, well, I was just in LA, and he lives in LA, and but of course he flies across the country to Miami this week, and but he's still on to talk to us today. And so, like all of our guests, Adam, I want you to tell your story. And like, your story can start anywhere. Sometimes I have to tell people, believe this or not, you can't get it wrong. I'm just nervous about their story, and I'm like, it's your story. Even if you made it up, there's no way I would know. Maybe the people who watch this know you would know, but if you made up a whole bunch of stuff, there's absolutely no way.
Man, you better not be telling your guests to make up some stories, spreading fake news on your show. You better chill with that, Dr. B.
I know. And so I want you, because I think people like to hear who people are before they care what they do. And once they know, and you can start building that trust through your story. And more than anything, and I learned this with the Journey to Freedom podcast, which is mostly with Black men, is that, people want to see people that look like them, that are able to do some of the things that they want to do. And for whatever reason, I always say this isn't important to me. I don't need to see who people are, I got this, right? But then I find myself, like, before I started Journey to Freedom, I went to this seminar with a guy named David Horsager, who does trust leadership. And it was fire. It was like incredible. But 500 people there, only 30 folks of color in the room. I mean, literally, there's hardly anybody of color in the room. And so I come back and I say, I need to do this. But just by me telling you that there was 30 folks of color in the room tells you that it matters to me, because I'm counting. And I got this epiphany later, like, why do I always count when I go to rooms? And it doesn't, maybe they don't need to be a doctor. They don't need to be a physicist or something like that. But it's just something about our commonality in our communities and the people that we spend time with that we want to see excel. we want to see everybody excel, but sometimes it's just that little special thing in your heart. You go, why are not more of us, in this and getting this information and be able to utilize all that stuff? And so, so please tell your story. I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to write it. I got my pen. I got my pad.
Come on, man. No pressure. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm putting pressure on
Dr.
you.
B, tell you, man. So one of the reasons why I want to give you the why I'm here and why this is so interesting to me. Other than to hang out with you, of course, but before this, I didn't even guess. This is the first year I've been going on other shows, and this is the first time I've normally I'm on the other side of the mic, and I've done over, just for anybody that hasn't seen my work, I've done over 6,000 interviews. I host the Mission Matters series of shows and have a bunch of other shows in production and other things. So I'm a host, but I'm a host now. But the reason why I started coming on shows is because I want to inspire other people to get out there and to become content creators, to become podcast hosts, to launch their own shows, to tell their story. And because it's very easy for people to look at maybe somebody when they're kind of polished, they've been doing something for a while, and say, oh, that person can do it and I can't do it, or that person has this skill set, they were born with it. So I'll tell you what I started out as, Dr. B. I started out as the world's worst podcaster. Let me tell you, I was so scared to do my first show. I didn't even use my real name. Like, I literally didn't use my real name. No, Dr. B, I was scared people were going to find out it was me. I don't know what I was thinking. This is many years ago, right? I didn't even go in front of a camera or do video until after 1,500 interviews. Because if you turned on a camera onto me, Dr. B, I forget my name. I'd be like, I don't even know what I'm talking about here. I was so camera shy. And then if you look at being in front of an audience, I didn't do my first live audience gigs in front of hundreds of people where I do interviews and things like that till after like 3,000 interviews in, maybe closer to 4,000. And that's just because I had that fear. So like I was able to overcome a lot of fear and not be able, and a lot of things that I wasn't like made for this business, and to build a skill set and maybe a bit of entertainment in me. But this is all after a long journey. So I want other people to get involved too. So my background, if we go a little bit further back, I was in finance almost 14 years. I was, behind the desk guy, and that was the deal. When I got into this business, it was kind of by accident. I launched a book. It got a lot of traction. So surprisingly, I didn't know what that business was even about. I didn't want to write a book. My mentor's like, you got to do a book. I'm like, I don't want to do a book. At this time, I didn't know the power of story. Like Dr. B, I was I was in finance. I was in finance since I was 16 when I worked at my first firm, Raymond James and Associates. And I was like, again, for anybody that's an author out there, I'm an author too now, so don't worry. And actually, we have a book publishing company. We published over 400 authors, so I'm definitely about authors now, not just because they pay me, but because I understand what story is now. But in the beginning, my attitude was like, why do I want to do a book, man? Broke people do books. I don't care about a $5 product. Like, well, you know how many $5 products you have to sell? Like, why not invest millions of dollars? Like, I was just in a whole different mindset. But what I didn't realize was that story had the ability to really change the world and to move people and to create movements and to create true impact. So once I started learning that, and God worked on me big time on that, and he gave me a lot of amazing experiences that opened my eyes to the power of what I was doing. And I'm still learning. Of course, I'm still learning. I'm still a baby in this industry. I've only been doing this 9 years. I'm an infant as far as I'm concerned. So that's when I fell in love with the concept of story, content creation, all these things. And this year, Dr. B, man, I'm busy. I'm tired. I'll do over 1,500 interviews this year. So I do 40 years of content every year.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I just want to jump back a little bit because I got so many questions on just what you just talked about.
Man, you weren't taking notes. I was watching. You were falling asleep. Don't even try it.
Check this out, dude.
Called me out. Okay, never mind. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, no, I got.
Okay.
So one of the things that you talked about is overcoming, right?
Yeah.
And so my first book was There Is No Tiger: How to Overcome Anxiety and Overthinking. So I can't wait for us to talk a little bit about that. But maybe talk about how your childhood, because I want to get into your identity a little bit, because you really talked about being scared. and you talked about having these fears that you had to overcome, and it took 3,000 interviews before you felt comfortable. So I kind of want to jump into the identity, maybe what your childhood was like, and what are some of the things that you even had to overcome as a child. Like I was a special ed kid, and everybody told me I wasn't capable and I wouldn't be able to do it, and I had to overcome that stuff. And still, some of that reaches back to me. So maybe just to talk a little about where you grew up and what that was like being Adam Torres Jr. little one.
Yeah. So for me, I guess you don't know what you don't know. So when I was young, I thought I had a normal childhood, but apparently I didn't. So I grew up on the southwest side of Detroit, and you think about this, like what was taking place in those inner cities back then. So we're talking, for me, my recollection is as a kid was Little Caesars Pizza, Detroit basketball, Detroit Pistons, the bad boys beating up on Michael Jordan, getting them in shape, making him go to the weight room so he could start so he could become the greatest player ever. Like that was my childhood. As I got older, and you could read the news and you have some context, you understand that the city, just like Chicago and some of the other major cities, were under siege in the late 80s, early 90s. And there was an epidemic going on, and it was not a nice place. I didn't know. So the luxury of having my parents there for me and supportive, and I didn't really know what was going on outside. I thought that was just normal until I was older and I was traveling and other things. And then you see the actual branding of Detroit at that time. Now, a lot's changed. Obviously, the cities in many inner cities are different. It's just a different place. We've progressed, thankfully, as a society. But that was those were tricky times, which I didn't know. I was sheltered in that sense. Like I didn't really know what was going on. So I thank my parents for that, of course. And then I was always in finance. So I started my first career when I was 16 at working at Raymond James and Associates, as I mentioned. So I was in an office really early. I went to high school maybe like 2 hours a day, and then I went to the office and worked. And so that was before. And so I had my identity was wrapped into being in finance and investing, like just period. That was what my whole identity was wrapped into. I would say the biggest transition that I had, and I was successful. So, I mean, I'm not one of those people that didn't like corporate America, that didn't do well or couldn't take orders or direction. I was made for corporate America. I did really well. Every 2 years I got a promotion. I did well. I like systems. I was fine. If anything, I always say that I was an accidental entrepreneur. In the last book that I wrote, Driven, with my co-author Elliot Cowan, it's like a tale of two cities. He's a serial entrepreneur, and I'm an accidental entrepreneur, as labeled in the book, and that's what I call myself. So I don't claim I have all the answers when it comes to entrepreneurship at all. But we're hilarious when we both do interviews together because we don't agree with each other. Like, nah, I don't agree. Like, he was unemployable for working for corporate America. Me, I did well at corporate America, and I loved it.
I love it. So you're there at 16.
Yeah.
And you have to look young in 16. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I wasn't licensed, by the way, so I wasn't investing capital for people. I was working at the brokerage firm, just to be clear. So I don't know if I clarified that because I wasn't licensed then. I wasn't licensed until after college. Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha. So you're in the firm. So I'm assuming that you're doing a lot of not face
whatever they ask, whatever they ask me to do. Yep. And it was fun because that, if we think about that time period, 98 to 2000, that's before the tech bubble hit. And so like burst. So at this time, anything with a .com after it, made money for the most part. And so I thought, oh, this investing in the stock market's easy, Dr. B. I know what I'm doing when I'm out. And then that big old 2002 hits, and I'm like, oh man, he ain't free.
Yes, no, I hear you. As I think, and so I was in so I went into financial services in the 2000. So that same year where it was bubbling. But I was in an office with Ed Milet. So Ed Milet had recruited.
Oh, that's great.
Him, and so I spent 7 years listening to him say success leaves clues, success leaves clues.
Wow.
And all the stuff that he says, I ruptured my Achilles tendon at his house, and all these things that he wasn't the Ed Milet that everybody sees now, but he was still
I like Ed. I only hear good things about him, and it's hard to, when people are in media or big brands like him, and I've heard a lot of stories from individuals such as yourself who've known him for many years, and he just seems to be a very solid individual. Like he's who he is. He didn't invent Ed Milet for his show and to make money. He was Ed Milet for a long time.
Since he was a kid. Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe that.
And so when he went to be at our corporate office at that point to do a lot of the stuff he's doing now, then they transferred me over to Patrick Bet-David. So I spent another 3 years in
Dang, man. Success leaves clues. No, Dr. B, they owe you a check, man. Success goes through your door. Hold on. Success goes through your doors. No, I'm just.
Oh my gosh.
Are you good luck? What's gonna happen for me next now that I've been living boldly with purpose? Come on.
I know.
You're gonna be like, it all changed for Adam once he came on my show. That's right. That's what happens around here.
Now I get to be with Adam because I never even talk about this on my show, like who I hung out with, but just because of your history and the things that you've done, I was just thinking like you were able to figure this thing out. So you went to college.
Yep.
What was that like? I mean, for you going to college and learning, you're already in the financial services world and you're already decided that you're being successful at it. So you're finding the right pathway to be able to do it, not despite whatever your circumstances are. You're just making it happen.
Yeah.
And so maybe kind of talk about, even your thought process in college. Was it networking? Was it doing things that they were teaching in the office, or was it?
No, I think so. What happened in college is I knew, like, I had self-awareness at that point, and I realized that I didn't really know anything about the world. And I even realized that the people that I was working with weren't very worldly. They knew their niche, but they didn't know, like, they weren't worldly. And by the time, and so I knew that what I didn't know on that part, and I'm like, I'll give you a funny one, Dr. B. So you know what a hostel is, right? When you go places and you stay in a hostel. So this is for all the kids out there. There wasn't always book all your stuff online. All right. So we're going back a little bit of time. So just Google it. Maybe it existed, but I didn't know. So the first, when I'm 18, the first thing I do is I'm like, all right, I'm going to Europe. So I didn't know anything about Europe. So I get out the airport, I fly into Amsterdam, I get in the airport, I get in a taxi, and I tell the taxi driver, hey, can you take me to the hostel? You get that, Dr. B? Can you take me to the hostel? I didn't know that was like a hotel. I didn't even know. I thought it was the name of a place that I was supposed to stay. Taxi driver looks at me and he's like, so when you talk about a green 18-year-old that knows nothing, I'm like, I couldn't say one word. I don't know if I barely knew what language they spoke, and I just didn't know. I was like, I wasn't cultured like that. So I intentionally, so by the way, the first night, like, couldn't find a hostel. It was terrible. I went during the peak of tourist time and eventually found a place, but man, this is after a long journey. So then when I was in college, my whole point was that I need to learn about the actual world. So I international relations, James Madison College, and I remember going and I studied at NATO. I studied in Brussels. I studied Czech Republic, Spain. Like, I wanted to make sure that I knew how other people in the world operated as well, because I knew I just had never had that exposure during my lifetime. And I'm like, it's probably like, so I knew what I didn't know on that piece. And I knew that there were a lot of other people that didn't think like we did necessarily, whether it's Americans, whether it's in my neighborhood, whether it's in the firm that I worked in. So that was my whole thought process. I kind of already knew that anything that I was going to do after college, you're going to have to learn at the company anyway. So I'm like, let me see what I can do here. Let me make sure I have some fun, and let me make sure that I make the best out of that and get the most worldly experience possible doing that. And that's even one of the reasons why I went to Michigan State University, because at that time, and I think they're still one of the top in the world, but they had one of the top, they might have been number one at that time for study abroad programs. So I was like, I went to college to travel and to learn and to, get my credits.
So how important then is experiences? It seems, because you have this plethora of experiences now. You started out early in the financial services world, traveling all over the world, and now today, I mean, we'll talk about what happened in between. But maybe just kind of talk a little bit about experiences and how important they are in order to move forward in success in our world?
They're not natural for me. I'm a homebody. So in all reality, right now, I do travel the world. I do a bunch of other things and I do those for my work. But, you know, in a perfect world, if I had to say what it looked like, I would have a platform like, and I don't mean the same content, by the way, but it's just for to illustrate. Like you think about somebody like a Howard Stern, where he's big enough to where everybody comes to him. He doesn't have to fly around the world, go to all these conferences, do all this other stuff like I do to promote, which I'm not. For everybody listening, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying if I was big enough, I'd be sitting in the studio like Johnny Carson chilling, right? And playing tennis in the day or whatever else I feel like doing and do my gig and then go home, right? But, you know, it takes time to work up to those levels. But, or like a Rush Limbaugh, he did his 4 hours on the air and then he used to go to his library and just like, and just read all day and like, and take a nap afterwards and things like that. Like I probably prefer a more chill lifestyle like that, but I'm still young. So I guess in our younger years, what we should be doing is we should be trying to be of service, but also trying to, you know, have experiences that make us worth people that are listening. Like you have to have something to give. Like if you don't have any experiences, then you don't really, then how much do you have to give? And it doesn't mean, by the way, I don't want to say this in the wrong way. I don't mean you got to go make all the mistakes yourself. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. You can learn from other people's mistakes and other people's experiences. But when you're somewhere else, when you travel, when you're in another place than you normally are, you're taking yourself physically out of the wavelength of your day to day. And even the energy changes when you're in a new city because you're subjected to other things, whether it's sights, whether it's smells, whether it's people, whether it's accents, whether it's the way somebody walks. And all of those things have the ability to keep your brain jumping from left brain to right brain and to digest and to not get too complacent and to allow you to spark creativity that maybe you didn't even know you had in you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when we think about the identity and the shifting and then being able to move forward, you talked about having to do 3,000, interviews.
Pain, Dr. B, pain. Except for all those guests, it was beautiful every minute of it. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking about how did you become? I just wrote a book called Be Do Have that'll come out in a couple of weeks, which is about being the person that you need to be in order to do what and then you get to have what God put you on this earth to do. And when I think about becoming, so many of us want to go do, and so you're doing all these interviews, but at the same time you're becoming. How conscious were you during that time that you're growing, that you're moving, that you're putting new things in, or you're learning how to speak, or you're learning how to talk to people or interview? How much time did you spend during that time just honing your craft and becoming a better person so that you can be that person that does that?
Dr. B, I would like to say that I was that type of person and I'm that smart, but I'm more of a systems person. So I'll relate it to one system that worked for me that I applied to what I do now. So when I was a financial advisor, like there was infrastructure in place, right? I had to have my Series 6, 7, 63, CFP, all these things. At one point I had my own RIA, my own firm. So I'm responsible for compliance, all these other things, right? So I estimated that, during that ramp up period of learning that maybe I, digested anywhere between 7,000 and 10,000 pages of content that I had to either memorize in one way, shape, or form to be able to pass exams, right? Like you gotta get your licenses and your credentials. So when I went into this business, I knew that I could at least have a conversation with somebody because I did it when I was investing for them, right? Like you got to be somewhat personable. Like nobody wants to be with somebody like that's a complete drip, right? So I know I could at least hold a conversation, but I also knew that I needed information, I need to study. And if I took this as serious and I could figure out where my niche was in the market, but if I took it as serious as I took my financial advisory career, that's what it would take. So what I did was I went back and I started studying the entire history of entertainment. So all the way back to vaudeville, think about your Bob Hope, your Johnny Carsons, so I digested, 6,000, 7,000 pages of content of biographies of the business, of the development of radio, of TV, of everything. And I took it as seriously as I took my financial advisory career. So in doing that, what I did was I realized, I said, okay, let's start with the premise that I have no talent and I'm horrible and I'll never get any better than I am today. If I look at the parallels of everything else that the other people who are actually great in this business have done, I mean, like, think about the Oprahs, think about the Johnny Carsons, think about the Larry Kings, think about the greats, right? Like, what do they have in common? And what I did was I like to quantify numbers. They all had over 30,000 interviews under their belt. So when I thought about that, I'm like, okay, so what I can do is I can be responsible for my actions and I can map out a career of what it would look like for me to get to 30,000 interviews. And so after I did that, I'm like, okay, now let's take it a step further. What happened, like, let's assume I do get a little bit better. Like, are there any other advantages? Is there anything else? And what I came up with was that our distribution today, believe it or not, is better than it was back then. So if you think about it, like I think about, and I like to talk about this one, Johnny Carson, I mean, the great, right? 30 years on TV plus, you know, his other career beforehand. Like, you can't Google and listen to any interview that Johnny Carson did. Same thing with Oprah. You can't Google and listen to any interview she's ever done. Why? Because she wasn't doing this in her early days. There was no podcast. There was no distribution. There wasn't Apple and Spotify doing the distribution. There wasn't RSS feeds that are carrying this to 40, 50 different platforms. So if you think about it, for somebody that has the right mindset, and if they're looking at this in the term of 30, 40, 50, 60 years of doing this business, somebody that's looking like that, they actually have an advantage on somebody like a Johnny Carson, who was the greatest, because he didn't have the distribution. So now I'm like, okay, so I have an advantage in distribution. I understand that if my actions, if I develop a company and a model and the systems in place that make it to where I can't fail in hitting my 30,000, 40, 50,000 interviews in my lifetime, then at the end of all this, I'll probably have more than I ever imagined.
Yeah, I mean, you start thinking of those numbers, and you know, when I just reach back in my mind to think, yeah, they probably did so many radio interviews or just so many interviews that never
recorded.
Yeah,
it wasn't recorded. And if it was recorded, they're in vaults and they'll never be released. They don't know the people that are in charge of that content don't know what to do with it. They still don't know what a reel is.
I know, that is so crazy. So.
And by the time they do figure it out, another generation passed and too late.
So as you've been doing this and you're spending the time and you're all over the place, do you believe that you've sacrificed anything in relationships or sacrificed some of the time at home or anything like that? Maybe kind of talk about how you've, and this word called balance, I want you to know before I even say that isn't something that I think everybody should strive for every day, because I don't think there's any such thing. I think there's seasons, but to have true balance, what the heck is that? I don't know.
I don't know. I'll tell you, at this point in my journey in life, I look at myself more like a conduit. Like, I'm a conduit of energy, and I'm more so thinking of, like, when I think about the blessings that, you know, God's given me, when I think about all the things and I think about the work and I think about the differences I'm making, I don't really, I'm not really thinking about myself too much day to day, to be honest. So I don't have kids. I'm not married. I don't have any of that stuff going on. I'd like to be one day. I'd like to have kids, like to be married, that kind of stuff. But realistically, I just feel like there's different ways that people get value out of life. And I think my work's important. Like, I see day to day how I'm helping people. I see what's happening. I see, like, I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm doing this series. It's called Africa Forward. And it's talking about, and I'm delving into the lives of entrepreneurs and people in Africa and some of the things that they're doing. And I think about it on this one particular gentleman I had on. He has a solar company, and he's working with the World Bank on the World Bank, like, I think it's called 300 million initiative. And they're looking at how they build and how they're bringing electricity to, you know, I think it was 300 million people or something like that in Africa. And right now, the price point is down to $1 per month to get this solar energy. So it's finally, for the first time ever in history, price is not the issue. So when you think about this, Think about the United States during this time when we finally had electricity. What does that mean? That meant that we could do that education, our entire education changed. That means that we didn't have to go home early from the farms to make sure we had food cooked and to be sleeping by the time it got, dark or with a little candle. That meant that we were able to have more hours of productivity in the earlier in the day. That completely changed with the same amount of people. Our output, our productivity, our ability to be creative, our ability to create, for distribution, for everything. So now when you think about something like that and hundreds of millions of people that are going to have electricity non-African, me bringing that story to my audience, like, I'm a conduit, man. Like when I think about that, like that's an entire country, entire generation. Like I'm just a little, a little microcosm of this. So if I can do my part to help in these huge initiatives based off of doing, and acting in the role that God's given me, then man, that's huge. So I don't balance and things like that. I don't recommend my lifestyle or what I do for anyone else, by the way. Like I'm trying to be the best in the world at something. That's like Olympian level. That's not for everybody. What do Olympians have to give up? They give up everything. It's just different. So my goals, I don't judge anybody by like what I'm doing. Like when you said you had 400, dude, I almost fell out of, or was it 500? I almost fell out of my chair. That's a lot, Dr. B. I'm like, most people quit at like episode 20, 24, depending where you get your data from. I'm proud, man. I'm like, because all of us lift and we rise together. So man, I'm excited about it. So I just like to throw that in there as well.
Man, that is so good. And I absolutely understand when you're saying, trying to be the best in the world. I've had the privilege of coaching 7 different Olympians, a gold medalist, that kind of stuff. And I know what it takes to be able to do that. I wish I could have been one, but the gifting that God gives us, right?
And you know what? What's funny about that is that I was obsessive in sports when I was younger, but I stopped growing. And when I did that, I already knew, like I was like, and whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but I was just like, my logic and my psychology, I looked at my dad and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get any bigger than that. Probably. I already stopped growing. I'm like, yeah, I probably need to start using my head and start thinking about finance or business or something else, because I could tell when I started working at the firm, I'm like, not how much bigger can I get than my dad? Like, and how many other people are, everybody's vying for 300 jobs in the NBA. I'm like, yeah, that's probably not a smart way to waste my time. Like I probably should be thinking of other things because I don't want to be old and broke.
Oh, I hear you.
So then when I came upon this though, Dr. B, I was like, man, this is with this sport. And I say this for other people out there that maybe want to start podcasts or something else like this. The only limitation in this is what's between your ears. Unlike sports, you can be physically limited. I don't care what anybody says. There's a certain amount that you're going to get to, and then that's it. You're going to get slower. Other people are going to get better. With this, man, I got a book coming out. It's called 1 Billion Podcast, The Future of All Media. And my thesis in this, real simple. There's going to be over 1 billion podcasts one day. There's a whole bunch of other reasons for that. Don't worry. You're going to be getting an email when it's out, Dr. B. I'm like, hey, can I come back? I got the books out. I want to talk about it. But anyway, I have a chapter in there called The Centurion Podcaster. Why would somebody quit their show now if they really know what's going on? When you get older and your friends start passing away, and if you're one of the people that live long, and then you're probably going to start to get lonelier and lonelier. That's what happens when you get up there in age. So because all your friends are gone. So why would you quit your show when you're at the height of your power, you're at the height of your distribution, you're at the height of your name, and you have all these other individuals that you can still help serve a purpose in the world? I think podcasting is going to increase longevity and life for some people because they're going to feel wanted and they're going to be playing a part in society, and it's going to be an important one.
Oh my gosh. That is so right on target of my belief system. And where, I do podcast coaching, and I have several folks that I work with, but I'm also started a community called Becoming the Person Universe. And the number one thing that I'm trying to get people to do in that community is become a podcaster, because there is so much that, I don't care how many people you have subscribing to it. There's so many ways to monetize a podcast, but when we think about personal development and working on you and being able to listen and think and all those things, like you're saying,
all your community's getting free books. That's all I got to say right now, man. Because wait till you see this fire that I'm writing, Dr. B. You're going to be like, oh my, I don't like to use the word evangelizing because I don't want God being mad at me. I'm not trying to cross things over, but let's just say that I'm very passionate about podcasting because it's completely changed my life. And I know that it can do so much more for so many people as well.
Well, it's an equalizer too. I mean, when you think about the greats that you talked about, the Oprahs, and the there was a lot of talent with what they did before they, somebody had to say it's okay for you to come in here and be hired to be able to do it. And there wasn't that many spots to be able to get good at it. Like these people who quit at 8 podcasts, that just drives me insane. They get going, they do 8, and then somehow they believed after doing the show 8 times that they could be good enough at it where billions of people or millions of
my book addresses that. I love it, Dr. B. You're validating what I wrote. I have a chapter in there that's called it's a marathon, not a sprint, and I go through expectations and managing your expectations. And one of the points that I make is that you're comparing the wrong thing to the wrong thing. If you got 10 downloads and 10 people listen to an hour-long episode, that's 10 hours of their life they gave you. If you got 1,000 likes, my Instagram does pretty well. Ask Adam Torres, shameless plug, go follow Ask Adam Torres. But if I get 1,000 likes on a post, which is not uncommon for my account, it's pretty active. I maybe got 1,000, maybe 500 seconds of somebody's life. They didn't read the caption, which, by the way, go like it. I'm okay. I'm not mad at that. But like maybe 1,000 seconds of their life, that's nothing. And how much did they connect? And I'm not against Instagram. I love Instagram. But podcast is so special. 10 hours of your life that they gave you instead of watching a Netflix episode where they could have watched a production value $50,000 or $500,000 episode during that exact same time. Instead, they spent it with you. That's special.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
I want to give you one thing about what you said earlier, though, about it being the great equalizer. I can't leave this one hanging. This was something that like God's kind of been working on my heart with. And I agree with everything you said about being it. Let me give you another layer. So if we look at the system, if we look at the world and we look at macro, not only is it an equalizer for the individual, but for society. Entire histories have been rewritten. Entire histories have been wiped out of people. And why? Or for people from the planet. And why? And some of this was done intentionally, some of it not intentional. It just happens throughout history and the system of it. But think about back in the day, who wrote history? The people with money, the people that you own the printing press, you own the newspaper. Who wrote your history? You go far back enough, it was whoever had the papyrus and the ink. You go further back, it's whoever had the chisel and the ability to read, and they're with that clay tablet in the cave. I don't know. They're over here with their hands painting pictures. That's who wrote the history. Who had the ink? Go further back, it's whoever had that stick next to the campfire. Like that's who wrote the history, or who was talented enough to memorize all of the history and that long prose that the Greeks did to be able to hand down those philosophies from generation to generation in various cultures. So it's whoever had the intelligence. I don't know, but I don't buy that everybody had that had the intelligence and the power and the money always had the masses' best interest in mind. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't buy it. So if we can agree that there was a certain percentage of that, this is the great equalizer from the standpoint of everybody can participate. And that's why I'm excited by like India and Africa and some of these other countries to be able to participate in telling their own histories for the first time where it can always be accessed. It's amazing.
Yeah. And we all have a voice that needs to be heard. And, I
love that.
We have a voice that needs to be heard. And, this gives you the ability to have that voice, and you get better. Like when I said, you don't even be able to tie your shoes 10 times and can be good at it. So for those of you who started one, don't quit.
Yeah. I'll tell you what my so early on, when I was really early on in this game, I was one of the people that I go to for when I was kind of in my head. Is he was this old school writer. He wrote for like NYPD Blue and all these old school shows. Like he's a SAG writer, like he's a writer, like he's written for some big shows. And I go to him and I'm like, man, I don't know. Is my show getting better? Is it getting bigger? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm off, or what do you think? Should do this? And he's like, Adam, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just in my head with this. Like, what should I be thinking about? You've been in the entertainment business before I was born. And so he says, all right, Adam, I want you to think about it this way. Are you better today than you were yesterday at your interviews? I'm like, I don't know, maybe a little bit. I don't know, whatever. He's like, what about how long you been doing this? I was probably like 6 months in. I was like, maybe like 6 months. He says, well, are you better than you were on the first day? And I'm like, yeah. He says, do you think you'll be better in next month? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what about in a year? I said, yeah. And he's like, what about in 5 years? I was like, yeah. He said, in 10 years, are you going to be better? He said, yeah. He says, okay, so then you already know that present day Adam doesn't have the right to judge or to comment on the success of future Adam, because you don't know the bound of of how good you can get. So what's the point in even like bothering thinking about it? Like, you just need to focus on every single interview and just try to get better every single day. And that's it.
Wow. That is so huge. You have no right to comment on the future you, especially if you're continuing to grow.
Yeah. And once I got that, it was hilarious, Doctor, because I'd have like some well-meaning critics and friends who would be like, Adam, you know, your audio's not edited right, or this, or maybe this, that. And I'd be like, oh, really? Okay. I'm like, oh, the audio was off. It wasn't edited right. They don't even know I wasn't even editing it in the early days. The first 300 episodes weren't even edited. I'm like, oh, really? I'm going to tell my editor, I'm going to try and figure that out. Do me a favor, listen to the next episode and let me know if it sounds better. And so then they'd be coming back like, no, Adam, it still sounds a little off. Like, I'm like, are you serious? Oh my gosh, we're going to work on that. Listen to the next, man, I wasn't doing anything. I just wanted more downloads. I was building an audience. They didn't even know. I'm like, does my post could have said, does my editing suck? Let me know. Listen to the next one. Shameless. I want some downloads. And for everybody listening to this, tell me how my editing is. Go to my Instagram, Mission Matters Business, and listen to some episodes and comment if the editing sucks.
So when did it turn into Mission Matters? Did you start out there, or
no? That's all God. It was so I was doing an interview. Our original platform was Money Matters or Money Matters Top Tips. I had a book out. I'd done over 1,500 episodes. We had a whole platform built, website, you name it. I had multiple books actually out under Money Matters. And one day I'm doing an interview, and the guest just says out of nowhere, you know, Adam, money matters, but mission matters too. And man, I like somebody hit me in the stomach. God, the way God talks to me is he might like hit me in the stomach, give me a little noogie, put me in a headlock, but he gets my attention. So then I call the other co-founder after that interview, Chirag Cigar, and I'm like, Chirag, what do you think about the name Mission Matters? And he's like, oh yeah, we talked about it, whatever. We put it on the table. Maybe like 2-3 weeks later, he calls me back and he's like, hey Adam, what do you think about the name Mission Matters? And I'm like, that's a great idea, Chirag. He forgot the original conversation. And I'm telling you, this is God. Like, it's just all these things put together. And I'm like, he put that in his head. It was in his subconscious. So then I tell him, if we have enough money in the bank to get this domain, because we can't do it if we don't get the domain, period. Like, you can't add something to it. It has to be missionmatters.com. And to me, that name is bigger than Forbes. Like, that's a brand. That's huge. So missionmatters.com. So we look it up. Of course, it was already purchased. We know that. We had enough money in the bank, and I spent more money in a domain I'd ever thought I'd spend in my entire life. And then within, it was 7 to 9 days, we relaunched the entire brand. We lost all of our subscribers and started from scratch again. And that was a leap of faith. And what we also did was we segmented the show so that now that we put it into 8 different shows, because I had so much content anyway, and we started over. So now I host for that particular brand. So our brand there, I host 8 different shows. We have a startup show. We have a innovation show, which is more tech. We have a startup garage show, a business show, a money show, a lifestyle and luxury show, an entertainment show, and a fitness show. And between all those shows, what we like to say is we can really cater to any type of guest that wants to come on, but then also whatever somebody wants to listen to in the non-scripted space. In the scripted space, obviously that's something different, but for interview content, we can really pretty much cater to anybody at this point. And from there, it just started growing. I just think, God said to step, we stepped, and we were rewarded by a whole lot more work. That's the way it works. You watch what you ask for out there. You tell God you want success and some other things, he'll give it to you, but you better watch what you ask for, baby.
You have to watch oh my gosh. And it's so funny because I think of these parallels, and I actually had a show. It was on what they call LA Talk Radio in like 2004. It's called Money Matters, and Brian and Marlon.
Wow.
It's just so crazy. But I was driving, and I think about how the ability to do podcasts. Like, I'm in my house right now, but I remember having to go from Rancho Cucamonga all the way out to the valley twice a week to record this show.
Oh my gosh, these kids these days in their remote shows, I tell you.
Oh my God, I know. What is up with us? I mean, it's just
they're spoiled nowadays, Dr. B.
Crazy. Maybe you've mentioned this a few times, and I'd love for you to kind of talk about your faith a little bit and how God has played a part in your success and the things that you do and how you lean on. So please share that with us. I love that. I mean,
it's just so silly. I don't know how, I don't know about it. I'm just highly in tune to the blessings that are around me every day. I mean, to me, it's silly not to recognize it. Think about it. I go from starting a podcast and doing some of the other things, or even going to coming from the southwest side of Detroit and to have all those experiences, even before all of this, to be in finance, to be able to manage hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, I don't come from money or that background or that pedigree. And then you look at some of these other things and come on, you start a podcast and people actually care and they listen. And then you get to publish books and have all these experiences and being in some of the top rooms literally in the world, and to be able to play your function in this, I just noticed that nothing else would make sense. To me, it just psychologically doesn't even make sense that I could say that it was my talent that got me here, because that ain't happening, dude. You better listen more to the show, Dr. B. It's all good, but I'm not, it's not logical otherwise. So I just am very aware to, and I'll give you one quick one. Then you want you to really understand how God talks to me, because it's insane the way he does it. So there was this moment in time when I was I had my financial advisory firm, and I also had this company, and they were both kind of growing at the same time, but I'm not I wasn't blessed like an Elon Musk to be able to have all these different things. I can do one thing good. That's it. I already know. So I'm saying this prayer before I go to bed, and one night, and I just moved into this new place, and I put all of my stuff away, and I had a couple of things done that were still on the floor. I had going back to those certificates, my Series 7, 6, 63, all that. Those were on the floor, and it was in my office, and it was the last thing that I was gonna put up. And I'm I'm not gonna hang these things. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to sleep. So before I go to bed, I'm just kind of having this feeling, and I pray, and I'm hey, God, I don't need you. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I don't need you to part the Red Sea or anything, but you got to tell me what to do. I can't do both of these. Just give me a sign. Should I stay in finance, quit this other media stuff, or should I stay in media and quit this finance stuff? I don't know. But again, I don't need you to part the Red Sea, but you got to let me know. I'm your child, and I'm a little thick. Show me. Just tell me. All right. I'm getting frustrated here. Go to sleep, whatever, go to sleep. Next day I wake up, and I put my feet down on the floor, and they're wet, and I'm what? That feels weird. How am I wet? And then I thought I'm dreaming still, and I remember it was a flash in my head. It was and all I could hear was my own voice saying, "I'm not trying to part the Red Sea." And so I'm so I try to go back to bed, but I realize my feet are still wet, and I'm what's going on? I don't okay, I'm actually awake. So then I get up, and then I turn on the light, and it's flooded. And what's in that flood? All my certificates are ruined. And I'm come on, God. I told you didn't have to part the Red Sea. You got humor over here?
He put the water in it.
I'm mad. I'm mad at the same time, but then I'm happy. So it's a weird feeling because I have clarity and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not a financial advisor anymore. So right at that moment, I took a picture of it and I still have it. I took all my certificates, I threw them in the dumpster. I took a picture of the dumpster and I said, okay, I know what I need to do. Thank you. But now let me go find out where all this water came from. And so I go and I look and come to find out the water heater like rusted through overnight and completely that's where all the water came from. And for all the critics out there that are like, oh, it was the water heater. Let me tell you, God controls water heaters too. It's all good. It's all good. So I'm like, I just like, that's the kind of signs I've received along my path in this journey that I've been allowed to see. I'll give you another one real quick. And this is, I gotta give you one more. So last is real quick. So unfortunately last October my mom passed. It was a tornado and it was unbelievable. And it's one of those accidents where you're just like, it's act of God. It just period is. 6 people passed in Florida. She was one of them. Literally the tornado came and just scooped up her house. The neighbor was actually in the driveway in his car that was connected to it. Neighbor was completely fine. So it's an act of God. Can't be mad at nobody. So as I'm kind of grieving and all these other things, there's all these miracles that happen when I go out there. I actually did a whole video on it and it's pretty insane. Like, but all the miracles that happened when I went there to the site and all these things, like they're absolutely unbelievable. But fast forwarding a bit, I now see like when I talk about like God showing you new things and new connections and what you're doing on this earth, I now see like the importance of even what we're doing today, Dr. B. I'll tell you what happened. I brought my mom on the show 3 or 4 times. Those recordings of her telling her story are actually what I cherish more than anything. I can hear her voice anytime. I get to now one day, if I'm blessed and I have kids and those who have been her grandkids, they're going to hear her voice tell her story. And so when I think about like, wow, how amazing is that? Like, I wish I could listen to my grandparents' voice again. They've been around with us for a long time. They're in their mid-90s. All the podcasters out there, whenever I've told this story, it's a call to action. Have your parents on the show if they're still with you. Have some of your loved ones on the show if they're still with you. And just do it. I don't care if it fits your format. It doesn't fit your format. You won't regret it. Like, it's something that's special and that you should do. And if you think you're too big or your show's too specific for it, one of Howard Stern's favorite guests was his mom. So chill out. You're not bigger than Howard Stern. so go figure that. So that now I understand, like I was given that privilege by God of this legacy and what I'm actually doing right today, Dr. B, what we're recording, we're part of each other's legacy now. We're part of this moment in time. We've created something new. And that's why I also want to inspire other people to start shows, because there's not enough people doing this. There's not enough stories being told. I'm doing 1,500 plus interviews this year. Man, I can't do them all. I need more people getting in the game. I want more people providing platforms for others to tell their story, because that's how we move humanity forward.
Man, I love that. And I think a lot about my legacy, because I have 8 children. I have 16 grandkids right now. And I think about,
dang, you are a blessed man, baby.
I am so blessed.
That's amazing.
But I think about the reason I'm doing these shows is someday my great grandkids but what I didn't even think to realize, and I've had my mom and I've had my dad on my show, but to realize how important those interviews are to me.
Man, that's all I care about.
With my grandparents. So if you're going to start a podcast, if all you do is interview your family,
your kids at a younger age, if I had kids at a younger age, I want them to be able to hear like I would love to be able to bring them on and be like, when they're first talking and they're young, or other age groups, and bring them on like, hey, we just went back to school. I could see the interview in my head. We just went back to school. We spent all that money on school clothes. Tell the audience they need to subscribe or listen, because we got to pay for all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. As I'm having it, and I do a series every Sunday where, just for them, where I'm to my grandkids, but I love that. It is so cool. I talk about their names and what their names mean to them. And right now, those kids could care less. I get them in front of me. I was like, hey, your name means this. This is the power that you're going to hold in the world, someday. But 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if God takes me, to heaven and I'm there, that's exactly what they're going to go look at. That's exactly.
Man, you've given them a real legacy. This is a real inheritance. Your knowledge, your time on earth, that's the real inheritance. Money counts, but like, this is the real inheritance.
So Adam, I mean, I hate that we're running out of time because this is so good, but we're going to come back. We're going to have another conversation. I asked you a whole bunch of questions that I wanted to know. And I know that you came on my podcast because there's some things that you wanted to tell everybody. And so please share whatever we didn't share, whatever we needed to talk about in this episode, because I promise you, Adam and I are not done. If you're watching
man, I got that book coming out. I'm going to hit you up. And by the way, and just so you know, Dr. B, for that book, I'm not selling it. I'm offering autograph copies, and I'm just mailing people autograph copies. I'm good. Like, this isn't even going to be for sale. This is me. I just want to give back and like, I've been blessed. I'm happy. I want to make sure that I'm living in my calling and helping others to hopefully take part in this gold mine as well. And the only thing I want to say, Dr. B, is if you're out there and you're listening to this and something is holding you back from starting a show or doing any of that, just remember, like, come on, you can't be any worse than me. Like if you think about I couldn't even be on a Zoom call. Like, I forget my name. If you can say your name and be on a Zoom call, then you're already starting further ahead than I was. So get in the game. You got a show idea, a book idea, you just want to connect, Instagram, Ask Adam Torres, just reach out and I'm around. I do check my personal Instagram. So Ask Adam Torres.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely go to Ask Adam Torres. And he made such a great point of, and I'm trying to say same thing. You are not going to be good at it at first. And so when you think about it, you say, well, I don't have a lot of listeners in my first 10 episodes, let's say, or a lot of people downloading or whatever that is. Well, you don't want a lot of people downloading because you're not very good. You're probably not good at the technology. You're not good at the interviewing. You're not good at some of those amazing things that you get better at. Because you learn how to listen. You learn how to listen to what the guest is saying and then react. And sometimes some of you guys are just going to get up there and talk, and you're going to get better at talking by talking and by doing it a lot and researching. Adam told us earlier in the show that how much time he spent, preparing and looking at and reading and understanding what the greats had done and watching them. Those are all things that you say, well, I don't have time to do it, but what do you have time to do? What are you spending your time at right now? For you, maybe you could just spend the next couple of minutes just saying, if you were to start a podcast today, what are some like the top 4 or 5 things that you would do to get that podcast going that maybe you or I didn't have the ability to do when we started, because it's, we got AI now, which is so much different than we had before.
Yeah.
So
I don't think AI, I don't think production, I don't think any of that matters. I think all that people need to do is just adjust their mindset for expectations. Like, if you can understand, like, I don't even agree with the premise, no offense to you, of what you said, your audience isn't big enough. If one person is listening and you have somebody that's spending an hour of their time, they're giving you their life. Like, that's all that anybody has that actually matters. So if you got 10 people listening, like, that's absolutely amazing. You cherish that and you water that and you cultivate that and you build around that, and you will have more listeners than you ever imagine. Like, but you have to do good with those 10. I mean, Jesus started with a couple, right? Like, I mean, I got to draw those parallels because that's just the way it is. Like, that's just the way it is. You need people, but you don't need a lot. All you need to do is just to continue to work on yourself. And one of the things you said, I like to bring up this pretty often. I'm paraphrasing this, but Howard Stern said, in one of his books, he said that those days when he was working in that early in those smaller markets, he was working on becoming somebody worth listening to. And so by the time he got to the bigger markets, he was ready. So that's a blessing. He didn't say the word blessing maybe, but I'm saying it's a blessing. Like, God allows you to be small.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get too big too quick. It's not in your best interest.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm 1,000% with you. And that's the belief that I get from some people sometimes that say, I have to have all these people listening to me or I'm not successful or my podcast isn't good. and it might not be good right away.
But that's also just not understanding the medium. Like we're not talking about like a flash in the pan or something that's quick. Like if you think about it, like even radio or anything like that, this is audio. It takes time for somebody to get used to your voice as a host. They may have to listen to multiple episodes before they even hit the subscribe button. So it's a relationship with the podcast. This isn't like a dopamine hit on Instagram where you see a picture, you get a quick dopamine hit and you're like, oh, I like this person's content. This is longer form content. This is somebody inviting you in their most personal times of the day when they're at the gym. Maybe that's the only time they get to themselves. Maybe before they wind down for bed, they want to put on a podcast, and guess what? They listen to yours. They literally invite you in their bedroom into their private time. Like it's a very intimate experience. So if you manage your expectations and mindset, and if you actually understand what you're doing, then at that point you're good. You just have to educate yourself so you actually understand the medium and what you're doing. And because if you compare it to something else, then it's probably not going to work for you because your expectations are going to ruin it. Like just period.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Make sure you go to askadamtorres.com. Make sure that you spend some time watching his content and learning what you've learned. Even if you're just contemplating this becoming something you're going to do. He's already told you there's going to be 1 billion of these. This is the time to get started.
Wait till the book comes out, man. It's insane.
Oh, I can't wait to have you back and beyond. For me, if this is your first podcast that you've watched with us, go ahead and hit the subscribe if you think, hey, this might be good. Because here's what I'm telling you, we have so many great episodes.
Nah, forget that. Hit subscribe anyway. Just hit it. It's gonna get better. If you think it's bad, hit it. If you think it's good, hit it. If you don't think, hit that subscribe. No, I'm giving that one, Dr. B. Just hit the subscribe button. Don't be messing around here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Adam, just give us one last closing thought. This has been so amazing. This is Adam Torres. We just got to talk to somebody who is making an impact and a difference in lives, not just every day. I would say every minute of every day. And I thank you for doing it and willingness to come out there and put yourself out there and go through those hard times where you didn't even believe you should be on screen, because we would not have you had you not pushed forward with it. So give us any last closing thoughts. I would love to hear them.
Get in the game. Get in the game. Like there's no reason. First time in history. If you're not in the game, you want to be in the game. There's so much. When the book comes out, Dr. B, I make the argument, especially financially, and I'm gonna leave them with a cliffhanger. People are going to create generational wealth from shows just based off of consistency over time. They're gonna make more money without putting in less effort. That may sound crazy. You might be like, oh, what's Adam talking about? This, that. I'm giving these books away, Dr. B. I'm gonna come back when the book's ready.
Thank you so much. Hey, folks, don't forget that you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. Don't forget to go to Adam's website. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you again. What an amazing time we had together. You guys have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day. We'll see you then.